Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Found His Family, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. After Sakura left the tower, she was walking through the village heading home when Temari, along with Kankuro and Baki, approaches her and she said, "So are you Naruto, sister? Wanting to make sure about this?" Sakura nods and said, "Temari, right." Temari sighs and pulls out a scroll and said, "I need to give this to your brother." Sakura snorts and said, "Let me guess, arranged marriage between you, him and Yugito." Temari blinks and Baki said, "Yeah, how did you know?" Sakura points to Kakashi, who has Gaara in his arms, and Yugito, who is beside him, and said, "She told us." Temari asked, concerned with the edge of anger in her voice, "What happened to Gaara and why is he asleep?" Kakashi said, "Naruto had Jiraiya fix Gaara's seal since his was messed up after he confronted Naruto. Now he can use it without having to worry about being taken over." Baki said, "But how did you know and how did you do it?" Kakashi said, "We had the world's best sealmaster here in Konoha. Jiraiya of the Sannin, who happens to be Naruto and Sakura grandfather." Everyone was stunned and Yugito said, "We were on our way to Sakura home to discuss this deal with Naruto. Do you want to come?" Temari sighed and said, "Yeah, but what about Gaara?" Kakashi said, "He should sleep for a while since Jiraiya said he probably has not in a long time." Baki took Gaara and said, "Kankuro and I will take care of him. Go and discuss this with them, Temari." The events of the next few weeks flew by. After the day of the prelims and the getting to know each other, everyone basically started practicing. Naruto and Sakura both disappeared somewhere that even Tsunade and Jiraiya could not find them. Tenten was sore the rest of the week and Dustin asked what were the names going to be, making her blush. Zabuza and Shizune had the Hokage marry them and both snuck off for some private time. Yugito and Temari both attended meetings along with the Raikage and the Kazekage, who arrived a week after the prelims with their respective lords of their countries. Gaara slept for 4 days before he got up and was told to relearn all of his sand control, which turned out to be even better than before. Kushina spent a lot of time sitting on the Hokage's mountain and looking over the village. Something had been bothering her, but nobody wanted to intrude on her privacy. Jiraiya and Tsunade suspected it was either over Minota or the kids, but let it be. The Mizukage along with the new Cage of Rain both sent letters saying they wanted to attend the finals since so many countries were being represented this year. Neji trained under Hiash, who wanted to have words with Naruto after he learned the very descriptive idea Naruto had for him, along with telling Hinata what was going on with the arranged marriage. She surprised him by yuruking his nuts and told him that if he ever told someone close to her agent to stay away, she would K him. When the council found out about that incident, they arranged a spar with her little sister. Hinata, being pissed about it, still not only beat her sister to within an inch of her life but also turned her aggravation on the council. They learned Hinata had a secret from the rest of her family the hard way when 6 Doberman pinchers came out of her room and grabbed each of the old farts by their family jewels. Apparently Kiba had got permission from his clan to give her some companions while still in the academy as a friend. When asked where she kept them all this time, she informed them about a secret room her mother had made for her after the Cloud conflict. When Neji asked where was the stutter, she told him that if he ever wanted to see their wedding day, not to piss her off. Turns out that all happened to hit when her time of the month hit, and without something to focus on like what she would do by chasing Naruto, she had a lot of pent-up aggression to get rid of. Needless to say, the Hyuga Council, after getting out of the hospital, changed their view of her. It also helped that anytime anyone got within 3 feet of her, the dogs attacked. Hinata trained them personally. He. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade spent a lot of time training and getting into shape. Expecting trouble with Orochimaru and Iwa here was like saying water was wet. It's a given. Before Sakura left with Naruto, she had a very friendly chat with Ino and the two came to a general understanding. Ino thought Haku was hot, and so they decided since he had to have more than one they would share, though Haku was a little upset about the deal, not knowing Ino except through stories. They came up with a deal. One that Haku was forced to agree with, either one without the other knowing he would lose the ability to ever have kids. The other genins all trained harder also, though not as much as some felt they should, since there were those like Kiba who thought Naruto was full of s about Iwa only being there to K him and his sister. When word hit the villages about the new hidden village, as well as the fact the legendary Yellow Flash they have heard about was none other than the village pariah, as well as the fact of who he was related to, there was a sudden increase in the number of heart attacks in the village. The hospital actually saw a profit from this increase in business. But alas, now it was the day of the exams. There was the Hokage with Jiraiya and Tsunade beside him, Raikage with 2 of his personal guards, Kazekage with Baki and another guard, Mizukage with 2 swordsmen, Otokage with a silver-haired guard with a mask on and a man who seemed to be sick with 2 red marks on his face, the Tsuchikage and 2 guards, and lastly the new leader of Rain, the Stormkage and 2 men who hid behind mask. One was short man who had a hunch and the other was a woman, but nobody could tell anything else about her. The Hokage stood up and said, I, the 3rd Hokage of Konoha, would like to thank everyone for coming to the Chunin exams. I could give a long boring speech, but we all have wasted enough time. Let the first match commence, and sat back down as the crowd cheered. Genma said, thank you all for coming. The first match shall be Neji Hyuga versus Shikamaru Nara. Whatever, he was interrupted by a huge explosion in the air and a man flying on a bird screamed, art is a bang, yeah, and suddenly all hell broke loose, as not only did Cloud, Iwa, Sound, Sand and Konoha nins start fighting, but also Mist and Rain Ninja. Suddenly all fighting stopped when a huge roar echoed across the village and everyone could see the form of the 8-tailed snake and the 7-tailed badger. Naruto paled and said, oh hell no, as one of the badger tails destroyed the ramen stand. He then took off charging toward where the demons were when Yamato jumped beside him and said, got any ideas on how to stop those 2? Naruto said as they charged toward the location, yeah, I am going to suppress those 2 while someone K them. Yamato sweetstrop and said, and exactly how are they going to K off 2 of the most powerful demons in the world? Naruto said, who said anything about K the demons? I'm talking about the 2 guys behind them on that ugly statue that seem to be controlling them. Yamato looks and notices what Naruto is talking about and nods and said, so who is going to help fight those 2? Sakura landed beside Naruto and said, damn it Naruto, what the hell do you think running off like that? As she looked at the demons who had yet to move. Naruto looked around and yelled, hey Sandboy. Want to help? As he saw Gaara causing waves of sand to crash on the advancing forces of Rain Nins. Gaara turned and shushed to appear on the roof where Naruto, Sakura and Yamato was and said, what do you want? Naruto pointed to the 2 demons who were currently standing at the edge of the village in front of a wooden statue with 2 men sitting on it hands and said, I figure that statue is what is letting those 2 on it control them, since they're being too docile right now. If we can somehow take those 2 out, we can hopefully cause them to stop altogether or be forced back into whatever it was they were in to arrive at this moment. Yamato said, or we could cause them to go berserk, but I got nothing better. Sakura looked and said, that one looks like Sasuke. Yamato said, that's Itachi, Sasuke older brother. Don't look into his eyes or your s. The other looks like Kisame. One of the swordsmen of the mist. Sakura said, I will take Kisame then. Naruto said, no you're not. Sakura said, Naruto, I am nearly on par with you on most things and I won't let them destroy our home. Suddenly a giant frog, slug, snake, lizard, golem, and bird appeared beside the stadium, making everyone turn and look. Just then the 2 demons took off toward the summons and Naruto said, I got to stop them, and started to do hand signs that were copied by Yamato and both shouted, Hokage-style 60-year-old technique, enclosed hermitage return to society, and suddenly 8 huge wooden dragons shot out of the ground with 4 smaller ones close behind surrounding the demons, who suddenly stopped and a seal appeared on both Naruto and Yamato hands as they both started panting. Sakura turned to Gaara and said, come on. We got to fight those guys. Gaara said, no. They're coming here, and Sakura looked and saw that Kisame and Itachi both were jumping down toward them. Sakura said, we got to protect these 2 at all cost, looking at Naruto and Yamato. Gaara nods and with his arms crossed walked toward Itachi, who looked at him and said, big mistake, looking Gaara in the eyes as his eyes changed into the final form. Gaara raised his hand and said, desert cyclone, and sand shot around Itachi in the shape of a tornado. He appeared and said, how were you able to block the effect of the Sharingan? Gaara said, simple. You need to look into my eyes. My eyes are covered by my sand armor and my sand acts as my eyes. Itachi blinked and screamed out in pain when a spear of sand shot out of his sea, and he coughed and looked back and saw another Gaara there who said, it is also handy when you are fighting a sand clone, and the one he tried to use the Sharingan fell to the ground. The only thing going through Itachi's mind was, how did I fall for such a simple trick? He then realized the answer as his heart stopped. He relied on his eyes too much and forgot it can't see what's behind him. With all the enemies fighting, he could not detect chakra that was suppressed. Kisame and Sakura had locked into a sword fight. Sama had against Raijin. Unfortunately for Sakura, he had more skills than her, and add to the effect each time their swords met she felt her chakra being drained. Suddenly Kisame kicked her in the stomach, making her fall backwards, dropping the Raijin, and Kisame started to walk toward her when Itachi cried out in pain, making him look over at his partner and paled as he saw him. That was all the opening Sakura needed, as she used a seal Naruto had placed on the Raijin for her, in case it was ever lost in battle or stolen. Kisame smirked and brought his sword down on her one last time, but Gaara-san stopped it before it could touch her. Sakura nods and looks over at her brother, who had his eyes closed and was sweating hard, and said, Gaara, we got to figure out how to control those demons. As she took off toward the statue, only to be in the back by an ink creature that looked like a scorpion, causing her to cry out as she falls to the ground. Gaara turned and saw several men who had blank masks on with the letters NE on them and an old man with them going toward the statue. Suddenly several mirrors of ice formed around the men and a thick fog covered the street inside of the mirrors, making it impossible for anyone to see in front of them, and two voices said, for attacking the heir to the Namikaze clan we sentence you to death. The old man said, K them, and was surprised when no one said anything back. The mist started to clear and the man paled and started backing away as he saw all of his men had senbon needles in their end, though the fact their heads were all gone above where the needles were did not help the matter. Haku said, for attacking my fiancé you shall the worst way possible. The man said, my name is Danzo. I am a member of the council as well as the leader of Root. You don't dare touch me. Haku smirked and said, perhaps, but you forgot something. You're in a battlefield in a war, and the moment you attacked a fellow ally you became a traitor to Konoha and you lose all protection and you are alone. And started to form hand signs and said, Ice style, Konoha's secret Taijutsu style, 1000 years of death, giant ice needle spike. As suddenly an ice spike shot out of the ground up his ass and came out of mouth as he arched his head to scream, however it was no use because it looked like he had and puked out ice. Shizune said, she okay, but she will be out for a while, as she had snuck around the battles to help Sakura while everyone was blinded by the mist. Zabuza looked at Naruto, who was looking tired, nods toward Zabuza and Haku, but was unable to do anything because if he lets go the demons would be free. Yamato had already passed out from chakra exhaustion. Zabuza said, come on Haku. We have got to get to that statue and see if we can figure out how to control them. And Haku looks at Sakura and Gaara said, I will watch her and Naruto, and Haku nods and jumps off following Zabuza. Up in the Hokage booth it had turned into a three-way battle. Iwa, Mist and Sound versus Konoha, Cloud, and Sand versus Rain, or should I say Pain, Madara and Konan. It was pretty much even, but then Orochimaru, who is the Otokage, Tsunade, Jiraiya, the Raikage, the Tsuchikage and Pain all summoned. Pain looked over and saw the demons coming like plane, but then they stopped as he saw the wooden dragons come out of the ground. He pulled out a small radio and said, Itachi, Kisame, stop them, and put it away as he dodged a strike while he hid inside of his lizard summon. The third started fighting with the Baki and the other three allied nins and quickly defeated all of the other Guas except for four. Konan, Madara, Kabuto and Kimimaro. However now it was just Baki and himself. Luckily Kakashi and Guy arrived at that moment to help. Kakashi blinked and saw the Sharingan in the masked nin's eye and said, I will take the short one. Laughter could be heard and the short one said, who you calling short team? It's not my fault you and Rin left me to making Kakashi wide-eyed at the voice and thought, Obito. Guy looked and said, I will take the guy with the sword. The third said, I will take the woman. Baki said, that's fine. I guess I will take leftovers. As Haku and Zabuza arrived at the statue, Haku asked, why was Naruto looking so tired? I thought he said he can't run out of chakra. Zabuza, who landed in one hand, said, He can't if there are plants close to him, however there are none, and add to the fact he is holding two of the most powerful demons in the world at bay right now, and we're lucky H is even alive. What the hell? As he looked at the hands, Haku asked, what is it, Zabuza? Zabuza chuckled and said, you're not going to believe this, but there are controls sticking out of the finger here like some kind of video game you play with. As he pulls out a control with 10 buttons and 2 joysticks sticking out of it, and Haku sweet dropped and looked and said, they even have one on this hand. As he grabbed one and pressed a button, and the seven-tail roared and said, okay, if this is a video game then let's hit pause and see what happens. And hit the start button, and suddenly the seven-tail burst into energy and flew back into the statue, and Zabuza asked, what did you do? Haku said, hit start. Zabuza looked down and hit it when the eight-tail burst into energy also and flew back into the statue. Zabuza laughed and fell off the statue and landed on his arm, still laughing, when Haku jumped down, and suddenly the statue asked, do you wish to shut down? If so, please turn off the power button. Haku sweet drops and looked around and saw a button that said power and walked over to it and pushed the button, and the statue started to shrink and then became a small statue the size of someone's fist, and Haku picked it up and said, okay, I think I have seen everything now. As he walked over to where Zabuza was, only to hear an explosion on the other side of the town and see what looks like lightning shooting at a giant clay bird in the air. Zabuza said, my money says that's Yugito. Haku asked, where's Grand? I figured in all the fighting he would have been seen already. Just then a huge tidal wave of earth was seen on the other side of town away from Yugito, and Zabuza said, there he is. Haku asked, what makes you so sure, Zabuza? Zabuza said, simple, who else is going to make a 60-foot tall tidal wave by themselves? I wonder who H is fighting. With Grand. Grand had started off fighting anyone who was not an Iwanin when suddenly he had to dodge some asshole with a weird scythe who kept talking about his religion. After feeling him get C by an attack on his enemy caused him to step back and see what was happening. After he saw the seal on the ground and a few of his allies get K by it and then getting C agent to feel ghost attacks, he sent a tidal wave of earth to not only destroy the seal on the ground but also to give an opening to attack the man. As the man jumped into the air, he along with 40 other Iwanins sent wave after wave of earth jutsu at the man, soon burying him alive. Gan then sighed and let his wounds heal a moment and then turned toward where he last felt Naruto chakra coming from. With Yugito, she had been fighting a group of mist nin when suddenly a huge explosion came around 100 nins. She looked up and saw Deirdre, who smirked and said, here kitty kitty. Let me show you my art. It's a bang, and sent a clay bird at her that exploded when she dodged. Not wanting to be blown up, she starts sending lightning at Deirdre, who dodged and gave chase. Kushina was sitting on top of the Hokage monument looking at the battle. She had seen her son pass out a few moments before and also saw her daughter get attacked from behind and looked at the other battles. Haku and Zabuza taking out the demons. Yugito fighting a clay bird, Gan heading toward her children. The third was losing. Half of Konoha had been destroyed in the crossfires of Jutsu. The other half battles were still waging on. B lay everywhere, but she could tell Konoha would be doomed. Flashes of what happened to make her leave Whirlpool enter her mind, and she looked down. Nobody knew the truth but Minota, and she said, not Ajin. I could not save my home and my sister was K after I stepped down. I will not let my children suffer the same fate. Minota, they have friends and family here, but what if this does not end? This is my final gift to our children and to you. Freedom from your eternal prison so we can live forever together. Forgive me. As she stood up and she bit her thumb and raised her dress sleeve and rubbed V over a tattoo. She then jumped off the Hokage monument and closed her eyes when she felt someone grab her. She opened her eyes and saw she was in the arms of her husband Minota Namikaze, but he looked a little different. He had white paint on his face with 2 black lines going down his face, one through each eye, and he was dressed all in black. She smiled and K him, and he smiled as well, and a black crow landed on his shoulder and she said, please protect our children and their home. The crow nods and flies into the air. Minota carries her bridal style toward where Naruto and Sakura were, disappearing into a yellow flash and appeared beside them. Gaara sees him and is about to attack when Kushina said, H's their father. Don't interfere, and Gaara nods since he had met her once and knew who she was. Shizune was wide-eyed and said, how is he alive? Minota touches Sakura, who starts to stir as white energy covers her body, and then walks over and touches Naruto, who is also covered in white energy. As both blink and set up, they look, and Sakura asked, "What's going on?" Kushina walks over and hugs her and said, "I love you, Sakura. Grow into a proud woman and look after your brother." Sakura was confused, and she looked and saw a man hugging Naruto, who was crying, and asked, "What's going on, Mom?" Kushina raised her sleeve and showed Sakura a tattoo of a crow and said, "You know what that is and what I told you." Sakura thought a second and got wide-eyed and said, "No, Mom. Don't do it, scared." Kushina hugged her and said, "I already have. I did it because I love you and your brother and want to make sure you both live," as she let a tear slide down her face before she felt a hand on her shoulder and let go. A few moments earlier, Naruto awoke and blinked and saw a man standing over him who said, "Hello, son." Naruto was confused, but then he recognized the man. Even though his face was painted, he recognized him and he whispered, "Dad. Is that you?" He nods and Naruto jumps up and hugs him and asked, "How am I quietly afraid this is some kind of dream." Minota said, "Your mother used a jutsu for me to come and save you and your sister along with the village." Naruto smiled and said, "That's great. How come she never used it before?" Confused. Minota sighed and said, "To use it she had to pay for it with her life. As soon as I'm done, then she will Naruto paled and looked at his mom and Sakura, who was crying, and realized he was telling the truth. They both walked over and Minota put his hand on Kushina and said, "I hate to say it, dear, but it's time." Kushina nods and turns and hugs both her children and said, "I'm proud of both of you, no matter what. I will always love you. Look after each other and show the world why you are both who you are," as she let tears fall. Minota said, "I'm sorry, son, for what I had to do. We both will be waiting for you and Sakura on the other side. Live a happy life as best as you can." Kushina and Minota stepped back away from them, and Sakura and Naruto said, "I love you," both at the same time, on accident making both parents smile. Minota said, "Do you know what a flock of crows are called?" Both Sakura and Naruto were confused, and Kushina said, and suddenly the crow that flew into the air flew down and through her body, destroying her heart as it flew into Minota, who closed his eyes and suddenly burst into tens of thousands crows who flew into the air and then covered the sky, causing all fighting to stop as a shadow fell onto the city. The crows all flew together and formed a huge crow pattern, darkening the battlefield. Everyone thought, "What is this?" And suddenly the crows all squeaked at one time and started falling out of the sky, heading for the nins fighting. They swooped down, and anyone who was an ally they left alone, but anyone who was an enemy had their hearts removed. The screams of the nins as they echoed throughout the village. Before this moment only around 2,000 nins had Now the total was around 10,000. The Hokage battle, as it would be referred to after this day, had stopped, and a figure appeared as a group of crows flew together, and everyone paled or gasped as the form of Minota Namikaze appeared. Orochimaru summoned his grass cutter and dived off of Manda's head and went to Minota, hatting him, and Minota grabbed the blade by the handle. You have been hunting my son. For this I will give judgment to you," as he looked at Pain. Pain said, "You don't scare me. I have the most famous bloodline ever." Minota smirked and said, "Maybe so, but you still have a date with death. Right, Shinigami?" Everyone was confused when the ghost-like person appeared above Minota and said, "I agree to your offer, Minota. These two will be worth your soul," and reached his hand out and grabbed Pain and Madara's souls and pulled them out of Theobe and ate them. Kakashi, who was frozen in his spot, received a jab to the heart from Kimimaro, but as Kimimaro smirked, he then paled as Kakashi turned into. Kakashi appeared behind him with a Chidori and said, "The Sharingan hypnotizes also," as he shoved it into Kimimaro's heart. Minota smiles and turns to his parents and said, "Take care of our children since we are both gone, Mom and Dad," as the white face and black line leaves his face and Kushina appears next to him and he grabs her and her before fading away. Naruto and Sakura were sitting where their parents had disappeared. After Kushina passed away, her body turned to dust and left. Neither knew what to say, and finally, about an hour of silence, Sakura asked, "Why did she do it?" Naruto remained quiet and said, "I guess it's a mother's love. She did not want to see us, so she gave her life for us." Sakura said, "But we all could have lived together," trying to convince herself and Naruto. Naruto looked and saw a little kid walking the streets looking for his parents and said, "Look over there, Sakura." See that kid. Right now he does not know if his parents are alive or s. He could search the rest of his life for them and never find them, or could walk around the corner and find them. H is lucky to even be alive. I did not fight anyone in this battle because I used all my energy to stop the demons long enough for someone to seal them. You took out Kisum and then nearly s thanks to Danzo, and I was powerless to stop it because if I stopped to save you, then how many other kids would live as an orphan? All Mom could have done is do her best and pray we make it out alive, or do what she did. It's the same thing Dad did the day I was born. I may not like it, but I respect her decision. I would probably have done the same thing in her place. Sakura looked down and started to cry, and Naruto pulled her into a hug and said, I will miss her also. Come on. Let's go see if we can help anyone, as he stood up. Sakura nods and walks with him and saw the little kid from earlier crying, and he said, but Mom, Dad said he would come back. Naruto looked down and Sakura said, I understand, Naruto. Mom and us could have lived, or any one of us could s. Naruto smiled a small smile and a voice said, what are you so happy about, Namikaze? Making Naruto look up and grow pissed. There was Gand holding a kunya and Tenten throat. Naruto gritted his teeth and said, let her go. Gand smirked and said, no, I don't think so. I think I will K her and then have some fun with your sister before I track down your other 2W. Naruto said, big mistake, buddy. Gand said, I don't think so. Now SB, and went to slide the kunai across her en onto to find he can't move. Shikamaru said, you will not hurt a leaf shinobi. A cold voice said, did you call my sister AW? Making everyone turn to a pissed-looking Gaara. Another voice said, did he call us AW? And everyone see Temari and Yugito walking up. Another voice said, you will not hurt my teammate. Your fate is sealed, as everyone saw Neji walking up with his bloodline active. Lee shouts, no one shall hurt the youthful ladies while I am around. Laughing could be heard and everyone looked and saw Naruto was the one laughing, and Gand said, why are you laughing? Naruto pointed to Tenten and said, looks like you learned it after all, Tenten. Tenten stepped out of an ally and said, yeep, say boom, and the Tenten in Gand's arms blows up, causing him to fly, only to be seen by wind from Temari fan and lightning from Yugito. Leaders the Lotus pile driver on him and Neji runs in and opens all 128 chakra holes. Gaara-san surrounds him and causes his body to explode. Zabuza, who walked over, asked, was that aggressive negotiations? Sakura said, no, diplomatic solutions, making everyone laugh. The third sighed as he looked at the village of Konoha. The Kazekage and the Reikage stepped forward and said, we will help your people recover Hokage-sama. The third said, no, this is the end of Konoha. Sometimes the tree has to rest so the sapling can grow out from under its shadow. If the people of Konoha are to survive, then Konoha must perish. Only then can we recover what is lost. The other two nod, understanding what he meant. In the years that followed that day, the Leaf Village was indeed destroyed. True, there were survivors and some building only had minor damage, but the loss of life as well as the amount of nin, family, money and happiness that fateful day forced everyone to view things different. The lords of every nation, after receiving the reports on the number of decided enough was enough. Too many wars had been fought over something as simple as land or ideas or simple differences of opinions. The new village that was talked about was made in Wave, however it was not called the Tri-Elemental Village. All other hidden villages were destroyed and its people brought together for their protection. A new village that would be called the greatest village ever. With the combination of all the knowledge from all the hidden villages in one place, the ninja became the best, though since no one had to compete for business anymore, they could not really brag. All missing nin everywhere, as long as they were not wanted for crimes like M or R or things along those lines, were offered a chance to be forgiven for leaving their villages, and many took them up on it. Those who did not were swiftly wiped out to keep the secret of those techniques as well as any threat to normal people. All councils had been destroyed and it was decided that the new hidden village would be ruled over by 5 leaders who represented one of the 5 major elements: wind, water, lightning, earth, and fire. Those 5 people lead the new hidden village into a time of peace and prosperity. Everyone was treated as equals, no matter if you were from a clan or a commoner or someone with a bloodline or even a Jinchuriki. It was hard at first, but after everyone helped each other, it became the way of life. As the time passed, the people of the mainland forgot about the village that was founded in Wave. The secrets of Chakra were soon lost to all who were not from there. After people forgot about it, the people of Wave decided it was for the best. Their skills made any side they join have an unfair advantage and could cause trouble for them. Deciding to take Thea's secrets with them, the island of Wave disappeared and only lived on in legend. Its great leaders only known to those who lived there. The Great Rookie 9, 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, Bolt, Abnu, Sanons, Cages. All were forgotten except to those who lived on the island of Wave. Today, 2,500 years after the island of Wave disappeared, the name of the hidden village that was founded still is spoken in legend, but its people and Thea history lost forever to the world. Or until history repeats itself. We dream of that island and imagine what they can do. Someday we may meet the descendants of the ninja village founded in Wave. Someday we may meet the ninja from the hidden village of Atlantis. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.